ALTBAYS Show brought to you by ALTBAYS.nz. I love spring, man. Such a good time of the year. Beautiful time. Such a good. Thanks for joining on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, you should subscribe to our channel. Okay? You can our platform and put some dollars there. People to have a conversation. Okay, please all talk. It's happening, man. It's happening. Look at this table. It's just
sorry.
The best
I'm
day.
here now. I'm in the moment. I'm present.
So glad you're here, Michelle. It's such
Thank
a
you for
good
inviting
day.
me. I'm having a ball.
Thanks for having us. I guess it's our show. Look at this. Look at this table. Georgie, look at this.
Yep, it's all go.
We have Georgie.
I'm all go.
We have Georgie Parry here with us, co-hosting this amazing show. How are you, Georgie?
Yeah, I'm good.
You happy? What have you got there?
She's looking for my phone for me.
I've been tasked for looking for Michelle's phone.
Fair enough.
Which,
fair enough.
Michelle, you don't really need right now.
No,
You
I
don't
don't.
need
I
your
don't.
phone.
But there's something that somebody emailed me that I might want to read out, depending on how the subject goes.
Nah.
Oh, no,
you
it's
got
really
it all,
nice.
You got
Oh.
it all in your heart, in your mind. So,
My
Michelle.
memory's a bit of a challenge, which is why I have all this around me. My props.
So for the people who are listening to our show and they cannot see this beautiful table, Michelle, I wonder how your house is, because you brought
Georgie
probably
knows.
half of it.
Georgie knows. Georgie's been to my home. I live in a very minimalist, clinical world, but this is probably more reflective of my mind rather than my home.
Probably one of the best wardrobes I've ever seen.
And
it's all colour coordinated, isn't it?
I was not even going to criticize. I was just going to say that I think a lot of your life is right here, right now.
Yeah,
at
it
this
is.
table.
Well, because you said, yes, you want to talk to me about Gumboot, but you also said you wanted to talk to me because we've met and chatted a few times. I come to your music gigs. I love music. You said, be more than Gumboot, Michelle, not just Gumboot, girl. We want to expand and more about everything else. So, yeah, I thought I'd better bring a few things.
Thank you so much. So just
my pleasure.
So just before we kick off, I just want to say thank you to Lotta Love, plant-based home cooking. Our dear friend Tanya brought us this amazing larb. It's a Thai dish that I'm going to have some soon, but we're going to have a proper meal after the show. Tanya, thanks so much. So for you guys,
thank you, Tanya.
Yeah. So if you guys are looking for some tips on plant-based cooking, check her out. lottalove.co.nz. We're gonna have did I say it correct, Taylor? lottalove.co.nz. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Tanya's logo on our screen during the show. You can check her out on the main
I'm living on her soups at the moment.
Oh yeah.
I've got 3 different varieties that Tanya made for me, like a customer order. Sorry, Tanya, I don't think I've paid you. I'll pay you tomorrow. Yeah, because I haven't got a kitchen at the moment. I'm renovating, refurbishing my kitchen. And I've just got a microwave, really. And I do need to drop a few pounds and get myself healthy. So,
what are the soups that you're having at the moment?
I've got cauliflower and Brazil nut.
Ooh-wee.
I've got something like an Italian minestrone, but it's all veggie, lentils, and a third one might be one I haven't had before that Tanya's just snuck in there to see what I think of it. But, oh, man, they're gorgeous.
Amazing.
So I've frozen some of them. And so just ping them in the microwave and just soup. So it's like detoxy, veggie only. Really, really good.
I've been plant-based for a few years, and I try not to push too much, because people know what they do with their lives. But I'll tell you what, I've done so much research, and I can tell how it improves my mental health, my energy, and it's just a collaboration. It's just a lot of things.
A very interesting thing. I won't mention any names, but Tanya's mentor and food guru that she follows is a lady called Chef Cynthia Louise.
Yep.
So Tanya found out about her, I think during lockdown. She was surfing and found this, and she's plant-based in terms of as a chef, plant-based books and everything. So anyway, myself and another lady and Tanya, we were sitting and we were doing like a Skype call with Chef Cynthia, and I was introduced as Tanya's friend, and I'm helping Tanya with the odd little marketing idea or the odd little bit of whatever, networky.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the lady that is a friend of both Tanya and myself. We're yoga buddies.
Yeah.
She said to Chef Cynthia, look, I've gone vegan, but I'm really tired all the time and I feel really lethargic and blah, 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 blah. Chef Cynthia said straight away, right, you go to your doctor, you get a blood test, because I felt like that on one occasion. And for Chef Cynthia, I think it was cancer.
Gosh.
So she said, look, you go to the doctor, you get a blood test and you get a full health screening, and then you come back to me and talk to me about plant-based eating. I personally believe that we are, I think, something called an omnivore. We're supposed to eat a bit of meat, fish, chicken, berries, nuts, vegetables, complex carbs. We shouldn't be eating refined sugars. They didn't exist when we descended from the apes. We shouldn't be eating a lot of processed foods, additives, preservatives. Absolutely, I believe in like natural. So I don't buy a lot of organic stuff because I think it's so expensive, and is it a bit of a con? You know, grow your own if you're that keen on organic, and then it truly is. Because you've got pesticides and things being sprayed everywhere, and it's carried on the air, and is that truly what you're getting, truly organic? And I know there's, in organic food licensing, your fields that you grow your organic produce in have to be X meters away from a field by another farmer that he's spraying. So you have to have like a barrier around the field. So it's complex to get food license to say that's 100% organic, and then I think still things slip through the net, you know.
For sure. Yeah.
So I do believe in organic. So my lovely neighbours Barbara and Vic, I hope you're listening to me, we set up our own compost bin to share between us. Nice. I live in a middle house and they live on an end house, so they've got a little bit more outdoor space. So I bought the compost bin, but it's on their land, and they're like my New Zealand mum and dad. They are actually British, but they're... He used to play football for England, you know, our Victor.
Oh,
Georgie's met him. Yeah, and he's a lovely guy. He's got a bit of dementia. So, but his wife, his lifelong wife, they've been married like, I don't know, 40 odd years, 30 plus years. Beautiful couple, so in love and still treating each other with respect, which is lovely. She manages his dementia really, really well. And then he knows he's got dementia and he says, I've got a bit of a trouble with my memory, you know. If I repeat myself, forgive me, you know. And then she'll let him go 3 or 4 times, and then you say, oh, yeah, Vic, you have asked me that like 5 times. And he goes, oh, have I? Oh, I'm sorry about that. He says, it's so frustrating, isn't it? And I say, well, it must be as frustrating for somebody with dementia as it is for the person looking after them. My dad has dementia. And when I was home in the UK, I went home July, August, September just to help look after him, because my mum and my sister have borne the brunt of that while I've been locked down in New Zealand. He was just starting to get the dementia when I left in 2019. His writing had gone a bit funny, and there's other things that signal dementia, like field of vision. They think they're going to, if they step across a rug or a paving stone, they think it's a step. Like, you would know about that, wouldn't you? So, I went back, and I've been talking to them on WhatsApp video, and he knows who I am. It's his short-term memory that's absolutely rubbish. So he does ask you the same question a lot. So my antidote for that is get him talking about the past. Because my dad was in the British Army from National Service. He loved it. He missed out on the war. He's not quite old enough for World War II. So he went in his National Service. He really liked it. He was the second son of a farming family, so he was never going to get the farm. So he decided to stay in the Army. And he was in the Army white helmets where they ride the motorbikes and they all stack up like a triangle. He was in the white helmets. But he was a military policeman, a red cap, which is like the internal police, you know, the fun squad or the anti-fun squad, you know. So when I was a teenager, my father was a regimental sergeant major in the military police. It's like, boyfriends, nah. Nobody came near. Like, your dad's too scary. We're not asking you out, like, because he'll be stood behind the door with a gun.
Was he like tough with you guys?
Do you know what he was like? He was like, what's the word? Like a soft sentiment. Hard on the outside, soft as butter on the inside, you know. And I'm my dad's girl. I'm the firstborn, you know. So I'm my daddy's girl. And which has led to relationship problems with my mother. We'll go on to that in a minute. So daddy's girl, he's in the military police. When I became more aware of his career, he worked with the Royal Protection and the Diplomatic Corps, because the military police provide security cordons around, and then you get the guys on the inside, a special branch with the Royals, and then with members of Parliament. You know, if they go on a foreign tour, then often military police officers will go as well as their protection officers, which are metropolitan police officers. So my dad used to come home, and this is where this is from my first link to one of my first props. This frog came from China. My dad went on a delegation to China. You can just see underneath there, so a Chinese label.
Wow, it's heavy.
Yeah, it's a stone carving done in China of this frog. When I was a little girl, because I was born in Paris and I started to go to school, and kids bully. They don't realise they're bullying you, but they do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they realise and they do it even more. Anyway, because I used to say I was born in Paris, for a while they said, oh, you're a frog, you froggy, frog, and all this sort of thing. And I got me down and I went home to my dad and he said, how's the new school, sweetie? You know, how are you getting on? And I said, oh, I hate it, don't want to go, hate it. They're all mean to me. And this was, I think it was in Wales. I said, they speak a different language to me and I don't understand what they're saying. And he said, don't you worry, sweetheart. He said, they're just jealous. They're just jealous. You've flown around the world on aeroplanes. You're born in Paris. You speak a tiny bit of French, but I do a really good French accent if you want me to. Mm-hmm. And then Singapore, you know, the Tiger Balm Gardens, beaches, you know, and you go back to rural Wales and North Wales, and they do speak the language there, and it is absolutely their first language. You know, people who say, oh yeah, I went to Wales and I walked into the corner shop and they all started to speak Welsh just because I went in there. That is rubbish. They are educated in the Welsh language. They sleep, eat, breathe, dream it. So if you dream in a language, that's your first language. Often people who've emigrated to a different country and they have to speak the language because they can't integrate without speaking it, like, you know, maybe India or China, whatever. As soon as they start to dream in the language of their host country rather than their language of birth. What's your first language?
Portuguese.
So do you now dream in Portuguese or do you dream in English?
I think there's a mix of it.
Yeah, so you're on the cusp of naturalising to maybe the English language, which is really interesting. So anyway, so he said, they're just jealous.
The weirdest thing is when people who I know that speak Portuguese are speaking English in my dreams. That's
your brain. That's your brain.
I love it. But it's always like, what? What was that?
Many years ago, I dated a Frenchman, but I was living in Wales. I was a police officer in North Wales. And he was the elder brother of a friend of mine, and he'd been living in France for years and years and years. So his day-to-day was a consultant, and his day-to-day language was French. And he used to speak English to me, but in French diction. You know, so it'd say, for example, your shoes nice red. Like, you've got nice red shoes on. Mm-hmm. So it would say it the way you'd say it in French, like, draw attention to the shoes, they're red and I like them. Or, I don't know, something like that. French might not be like that, but so you think, what is he? And also as an army child, France, Germany, Singapore, I know what it's like to be the ethnic minority. I know what it's like to be the only British kid in an American airbase school, and they don't teach you your times tables, they don't teach you A-E-I-O-U, George, you know, it's not like the standard English education. So when you get flown back from Singapore and you spell colour wrong and you don't know your times tables and you get thrown back into the British educational system and they make you take a little exam. And the headmaster back then, you're a teacher, I know, but I'd have issues with teachers. Back then. Anyway, he said, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your daughter's stupid. And my daughter is not stupid. What do you mean my daughter's stupid? My mum's there just being politically correct and turning into chameleon, you know, I'll agree with whoever's the most senior person in the room, you know. My dad's like fiercely proud. My daughter's not stupid. What do you mean? And he kind of talks like that with his arm like that because that's where his stick is when he's marching, you know, his pace stick. So he talks to people like it's really funny. It's his body language. Anyway, so my dad says, well, how so? What do you mean she's stupid? And he says, well, she couldn't pass this. She can't spell. Well, she's a little bit dyslexic. I'm more numerically dyslexic, whatever the word for that is, than I am with words. I'm very comfortable with words, but not with spelling them. I'm all right with my mouth, talking about them. So I think when you've got a weakness, you start to overcompensate in a different way. Like I'll talk for England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Brazil, Scouse, whatever. I can talk for but don't ask me to write it down. And don't, for God's sake, put me on a flip chart because I get word blind and I can't write on a flip chart. So I always appoint somebody to take my notes if I'm doing a meeting. You take my notes with me.
It's quite a key moment, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did that kind of affect your life ongoing?
Well, it forms you, doesn't it? What happens in your childhood, whether it's being traumatised by kids at school bullying you and calling you a frog, And then your dad saying, well, they don't know anything, do they? You know, where have they ever been on holiday? London? No, you know. Or, you know, they've been to Cornwall and you've been halfway around the world. They're just a bit jealous. They're frightened of what they don't know, and they don't know you because you're so different to them.
So your dad saying that, was that able to compensate for your headmaster saying that you were stupid?
Well, the stupid came a lot earlier than the dad thing, because you know, and then my education was affected because you started in the D stream, then you worked way up to the C stream, and then you got into the B stream, and then you got into the A stream, because every year you had to do so well in your exams that the following year you went up a class. So that was okay. So I eventually fought my way back, but I lost a lot of respect for teachers. I met a really good guy. I was dancing with him at Grace O'Malley's. You know, when the kids from the school in Auckland came down, the fantastic musicians. It was dancing there. And I said, oh, are you a teacher? He said, no, I'm an educator. And wow, did that resonate with me. You know, I think we're all responsible to be an educator. A teacher, in my view, is a bit teachy, tell, you know. An educator, what a fantastic breadth
Isn't
of the
it
word.
powerful that just one word can change the whole definition?
And just to finish on the frog, and I'll put it away in my bag. Bye, frog. My dad went to China and he brought the frog back. And he said, do you know what frogs mean in China, Michelle? Prosperity and fertility. You know, and he said, so if they're calling you a frog, you tell them what they're calling you, you know. And it's not just fertility from a point of view of having babies. It's actually like a fertile life, like fertile thinking, innovation. It falls in, I mean, it could be food production, fertility of the soil and what you do. Somebody who's a grower of veggies or a grower of babies, and, you know, somebody that brings human beings into the world, not human doings, beings. So I started to collect frogs. Georgie's been to my home. Got frogs made out of coal, frogs made out of driftwood, frogs made out of glass. I collect frogs, and I also collect owls as well.
Owls, yeah. I was just gonna say.
So excuse me, I'm going to disappear under the table with my frog.
Michelle, how was the thing with Dad being so supportive, and you said that Mom was a bit different on the approach? Like, when you look back, how did that interfere the way that you were brought up?
My mum and my dad were working class people. My dad, I think, was more loved by his parents, although I think my father's mother was, well, I knew her, Granny Smith, and she was a sour apple, really. And we didn't like her because she used to like not give you any praise or recognition to your face, but she'd tell your cousins, oh, your cousin Libby's really good sewer, because she taught us all to sew. We could all sew curtains and cushions because she'd been a seamstress, so she taught us all to sew. But when it was your turn to go for a lesson, it was like, oh no, I don't want to go, because she'd make you unpick everything and you were never good enough. And then she'd say to you, oh, your cousin Elizabeth, Libby, she's so much better sewer than you. And then anyway, when old Sour Apple died, we're all together at her funeral. And the little ones are putting messages in the coffin, you know, have a nice trip to heaven, Nanny, and all these beautiful things. And the older cousins were all stood at the back saying, oh, what a bitch, Jesus, you know, well, we're so pleased she's popped her clogs, you know. And anyway, because she was hard work. Anyway, my cousin Libby says to me, she says, well, you were always the best sewer. I said, what do you mean you were? She told me you were. And we all stood there. And then we all realised that for some reason, she couldn't tell us to our face that we were good at something, but she'd tell a cousin. So she created like a sibling rivalry between us. And also, when you did anything for her, it was never good enough. So you felt like, oh, well, what's the point of me coming for another sewing lesson? I'm just not good enough. And then when we were all as adults, like, you know, it made us dislike her, which was a shame, because maybe she had a good heart. Don't think so somehow, but maybe
Michelle,
she did.
sorry, just sorry to interrupt you there, but just something that I'm curious. Considering your experience with like training people and being like in charge of so many teams, and I read an
You've read my CV then, have you?
I did. I came across I forgot the name of the book, but it was talking about compliments
Yeah,
on how
praise, positive
they're good,
affirmation.
they're very
absolutely.
good. However,
well, you see your sticker that I gave you a look.
Yes,
you know.
yes. However, where I was going is like it can be a bit dangerous if you do it too much. How does that work for you?
Absolutely. In that teaching, those books, and there's several different authors write about this, positive affirmations, praising people, catch people doing something right, don't catch them doing something wrong. So it has to be totally genuine. It's best if it's in the moment, right there, not 6 weeks later. You know, and also you can give somebody like a feedback sandwich. So you might put something negative in the middle of two positives. But if you leave somebody on a negative, that's the last thing they'll remember. Funny story, right? I'm full of funny stories, aren't I, George? George and I went on a girls' trip down south to South Island, and George said, Michelle, you need to stop talking. I've heard enough. Like, my brain's sore. Because we're driving along and I'm going, oh, funny story, George, funny story. Blah, 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 blah. So then she says, Michelle, I've got funny story fatigue. Will you shut up? Anyway, I'm used to being told to shut up. As long as you do it with love, I'll shut up. Anyway, I was working for Woolworths, who had purchased this training package, and it was all about being positive in the workplace and saying something nice to somebody. So I'm out on the road with my regional manager. I'm a district manager, and I was the first female district manager since World War II for Woolworths. Yeah, go girl power.
That is actually something to celebrate.
Oh, the Spice Girls. I might have it somewhere on my computer, but I've got the newspaper article from the Woolworth News announcing my appointment. Oh, I had a perm, George. My hair was like yours, curly like that. Dallas shoulder pads, everything. It was awesome. Anyway, so... The guy that decided to take me on as the first female district manager, my line manager, my boss, was about 5'3", and I'm like 5'10", and heels. Got to wear a power suit, haven't you? Got to put at least a couple of inches, you know. So anyway, we were out together on the road, and he's got this great big Ford Granada at the time, and this was one of the first cars that had heated seats, right? So the little bastard, excuse my French, the little...
swear box.
No, that's the F box. That's not a swear box, that's the F box.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So anyway, so I'm driving along and I say, oh, Kevin, I'm hot. He says, stop bragging. He says, you're not that hot. I said, come on. And anyway, I said, oh, I think I'm menopausal. I'm bleeding. Anyway, turned the heated seats on and it was summer. And I was sweating. I had sweat rolling down my back and down pooling in the back of my knickers. And I thought, when I get out of this car, I'm going to look like I've wet myself. And anyway, I said, what? And he started to laugh. And I said, what have you done? Anyway, so he had a bit of short man syndrome because he was actually very short, and he was actually very, very short-sighted. So he had really thick jam jar bottle glasses on. So it was like going out on your patch with Mr. Magoo, you know, really small, thick glasses. Very clever guy, photographic memory, really clever guy. Anyway, he says, and he was from up north, he says, how are you getting on with this positive lark, you know, just being positive all the time? I says, Kevin, I don't have any trouble with it. I says, I come from a sporting background, coaching background. It's all about catching people doing things right. I says, I eat, sleep, breathe, and poop that management style. That is why I am being trusted with being the first ever woman to do this, since men were being shot at on the front line and women had to stand in and be engineers and be motor mechanics and keep running the bomb factories and feeding the front line, you know. And women, I think, gained a lot of respect as being competent and capable because of the world wars, rather than stuck in the kitchen, have babies, make my tea, clean the toilet sort of thing, you know, which don't go there. That's a long argument. So anyway, we went to see this particular store, and he said, where are you taking me? I said, you go wherever you want. I said, I have not rolled out the red carpet for you. They all know you're coming. They all know you might drop on their store. Now, I had North Wales, and the geography of North Wales is a bit like the Coromandel and New Zealand. Mountains, rivers, streams, lakes. You have to go the long way round to everywhere. Everything goes north-south, nothing goes east-west, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, beautiful. New Zealand reminds me an awful lot of parts of Wales, Snowdonia and things. So anyway, we're driving around. He says, we'll go to Pwllheli, which is in the middle of bloody nowhere, like miles. Anyway, when you meet Kevin, you start at 6 a.m. in the morning and off you go. And so you're there at 8 o'clock when the store manager's supposed to be opening the key in the door for the cleaners in an hour of whatever. So you catch them on the doorstep, you know, with a hangover, the tie down here, having a fag, all sorts of things. Or you catch them at the till point, and they've got all their mail out, and they're sorting all their piles out for their staff. And when the girls come in, they go, "Morning, ladies, how you doing? And would you mind starting half an hour early because it got in a mess yesterday, and it was your day off." And it's good guys and bad guys and girls as well. So anyway, we went to this Puthelli, and the store manager in there was on his final written warning for being incompetent, basically. And he was just in the wrong job. He was not a bad man socially, but he just couldn't multitask, and he couldn't, so he was just a square peg in a round hole. And I was treating him like that. I never told him he was shit at his job. I never, even not that word, but directly. So I said to Kevin, I said, look, this guy's on his final written warning. Please don't give him a kicking. Please don't, I said, adopt the positive new management style that we're trying to bring in. He said, right, so the last thing I say to him then when we walk out the door is I've got to say something nice and positive and constructive. And I said, that's right. Yeah, you got it. Well done. Because I'd worked in personnel and training, so I don't even have to think about it. That's how I roll. So he's used to the old-fashioned management style of you've ripped it to shreds. What the hell's that over there? What's this? Kicking boxes and dragging bits of point of sale off the ceiling. I mean, honest to God, it was like a character assassination when these guys got going. And I'd seen it done, and I thought, I never want to be like that. Never want to be on the receiving end of that, never mind being told I had to deliver and manage like that. So anyway, did a nice store inspection, and Kevin saying, well, I think you should actually, maybe bring that round like that, and maybe you should do this like this, and, and he was giving him tips and helping him. And he says, so Michelle's looking after you, is she? Do you think she's a good boss? He said, oh, yeah. He said, she comes, and I know what I need to do, and she tries to help me, and she'll write me lists, and she'll tell me how to use a checklist. And he says, but he said, my heart's not in it. And the guy had been a really good gardener, actually, and he'd won prizes for his mum's front garden in the council estate, hanging baskets, window boxes and everything. And to cut a long story short, I eventually got him a job with the local borough council working in their gardening department, and he used to do these amazing floral displays on roundabouts. This roundabout is sponsored by New World or the Warehouse or whatever. And
that was you.
And I put a square peg in a square hole. It wasn't difficult. And he was dismissed by me, and he rang me 3 or 4 months later, and he said, Michelle, there's a job in the newspaper I really think I can do. I really, really, really think I can do it. I said, okay, come round to my house. We'll do your CV. Well, aren't you? So I came and I just read out the thing. I said, oh, that's absolutely you, isn't it? Because one day I had a cup of coffee with him in his office, and he was very down, And I said, so what are you good at, Leo? Come on. What, Leo? He said, well, my hobby's gardening. He says, look, I said, have you got any photographs of your gardens? So he goes into the bottom drawer of his desk, and he brings out this photograph album. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Geraniums, hanging baskets. But I mean, like artistically beautiful teardrops and planting and contemporary planting and then country garden planting and everything. I said, Leo, no wonder you hate your job. The best department in his store was always the gardening department because he knew his way around it. Woolies used to sell seed potatoes and plant seeds and everything. Anyway, so I said, you'll get this job. I know it. I feel it in my bone. I'm a little bit spiritual. I get a spooky sort of tingly feeling when I think something's going to work. So anyway, he applied for the job. He got the job. Rings me up. He says, I got the job. I said, I thought you would. See, square peg, square hole, Leo. You just were wrong. Why you ever applied to be a store manager at Woolworths, I'll never know. He said, well, they wanted graduates to become store managers, like a shortcut. So I said, oh, well, anyway, you're only 27, 8. You haven't ruined your life. Off you go. So he used to send me Christmas cards and thank me, and, I think that's a win-win. I got rid of him out of one of my stores because he wasn't doing it justice, but he went on to be happy. In my book, that's a win-win.
That's such an important thing for a leader to identify those things. And what I was thinking here while you were talking, I was thinking all of us, because it's so out there, talking about like how you treat people, how companies thrive when the workers are happy, and a lot of companies considering doing like 4 days a week because they realize that workers will produce more if they have an idea that they will rest more. Why do you think we still have that strong idea of like, oh, the mean boss, like if you operate
I think it's old-fashioned. It's old-fashioned thinking. I think that people who've been managed in a certain way, that's what they've learned. It's like learned behaviour. If they've been treated like shit, they'll feel like shit and they'll treat others like shit. So you have to break that cycle. It's the same with children and raising children, healthy, mentally healthy children and people. Treat people right, love them, reward them, and motivate them with reward, recognition. Everybody has what's the thing about your love language, George, where, like some people like verbal praise, some people like touch, affection. It's a bit the same when you're managing people. One of the books that I used to work a lot with is Different Strokes for Different Folks, and everybody's a winner. You just got to find the race that they can win and all these sorts of positive things. So I went to Henley Management College. Woolworths sponsored a wing that was built there, and we rolled out this. It came from the Disney world. In Pursuit of Excellence was the book by two management psychologists. Is it Pollard and Blanchard? Don't know. Anyway, I think it was Pollard and Blanchard. So Disney had organised these two management psychologists to write a program, an educational program for them for the Disney land parks. And basically they said, right, the minute you go on stage, whether you're dressed as Mickey Mouse or you're the cleaner or the person working in the information office in a uniform, you're part of a child's dream. We're not selling tickets to Disneyland, we're selling dreams. So everybody's on stage. Everybody has to be Snow White, Mickey Mouse, a cleaner. And the people that were asked the most questions about where's this, where's that, how do I do this, how do I do that, in Disneyland were the cleaners, not the information girls, because the information girls are all from college and they were all perfect and they had the white teeth and the Barbie hair and they said, oh, have a nice day and you're welcome. And I don't want to speak to people like that. They're a bit plastic, a bit false, like Barbies on speed, aren't they, So I would be like, sorry, no. So I would be like, oh, right, so, So what Disney did, they recognised this through customer survey and mystery shopping. I love mystery shoppers. And so they took all their cleaners. They put all their cleaners in the uniform of all the Barbies. Had the little hairdos done, bit of nail varnish going on, nice uniforms. Put them out in the park and they put all the Barbies in as cleaners.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And I thought, that's wonderful. Now you know what it's like to be a cleaner, Barbie girl. Sorry.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I have a bit of an issue with Barbie girls. But anyway.
So you're talking about Disney, and I know that you worked in the toy industry
I love
for
it.
a long time. So and there's so many colors.
Where's the camera?
Here.
Where's the camera?
Were you a child who had toys all over? Like, were your family like a playful?
Speaking about Lego, who I worked for, and I would say was my biggest and best toy company job, and they are the biggest toy company in the world now. If you ask people about brand and brand recognition, Coca-Cola's number one, Lego is number two, and it's above McDonald's now. So if you brand recognition, brand identity, so when people see that logo, that one, they know straight away that that's Lego, and they know that that's a toy, and it's like a brick and all of that. So, and like if they see the golden arches, they know that's a Mackie D, and Coca-Cola, the iconic Coca-Cola, and the red, and that, that's brand recognition, brand identity. And Lego actually put its brand authenticity and its brand essence above profit. We were never allowed to sell Lego cheap and cheerful. We were never allowed to do a cheap version. It always had to be the quality. Apparently, you can stand an elephant on that. And we said, well, why? We don't want to stand an elephant on a brick. Why is it so expensive and unachievable for so many people? Or, you can't sell Lego in poverty-ridden China and India, and they just can't afford it. And they said, well, because we want that to last a lifetime, we want it to be compatible with, that brick might be 20 years old. That little character that comes out of another set called Strawberry Shortcake sits on the brick, and then so the brick is such good quality that, and I talk to people and they say, oh yeah, well, my husband's Lego and my granddad's Lego, it's all up in the loft, and when we have a grandson, it's all going to come down. And you can put that in a dishwasher or a washing machine to clean it. Put it in a pillowcase or whatever. Anyway, I'll stop selling Lego. I'm not here to sell Lego. And this is my journey here in Lego. It's
can you
like my
describe
Lego
it
CV.
while you show it, because some people will be listening to it. So what are we looking at?
Okay, this is a little base plate, and it's got 5 Lego minifigures on it. And you can buy your minifigures in mystery packs now. And that was actually my idea. Like I said, people love the minifigs. They want to just collect minifigs. And all the Danes were like the Vikings, you know, oh no, you don't have to do this, you know, they have to put it in a set. And I said, no, honest to God. I said, little girls love this. So the first one I'm picking up is me. It's blonde. I need to find a grey wig now that I'm grey, but, you know. And it's actually got an oversized glass of rosé. Can you hear it? Hang on.
Yes.
There's the icebox from the rosé. I always drink my rosé. The girls at Stoke know me. I have a Friday rosé, don't I, girls? And I always put ice in it to water me down. So I've got a little pink Barbie-esque with a rosé. I have a ladybird one because when I worked for Woolworths, the brand that was children's clothing, do you remember the little red dressing gowns? Mm-hmm. That was a ladybird dressing gown. Remember little shoes, little red sandals. Boys wore them as well as the girls with little white ankle socks. Ladybird, Clark's ladybird. And so that's a ladybird, which is my Woolworths. My rosé, which is probably my now and my coping mechanism through COVID, was rosé wine, which is why I put on 20 kilos in 2 years. I now have, pleased to say, I have 10 off because Donna from the hypnotherapy, this is how my mind works. I'm making all these connections. I went to her for gastric band. I thought, I have got so much to get off and I need to get off in a hurry. But if you do it too quick, you yo-yo. I'm having a new way of life, back to my old fit self.
How did the hypnotherapy help you? Is it like a reprogramming of what you tell yourself?
Yeah, you sort of, if you don't go completely under, like, you're kind of in the room but so relaxed and in a deep sense of relaxation. She talks to your subconscious rather than your conscious. So I know when I'm fully awake and I've fed up and peed off and had a shit day and blah, 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 I'll go to the fridge and I know that rosé is not good for me, but I drink it anyway. I know that those cheese and biscuits are not good for me, but I eat them anyway because I've had a shit day and I'm comforting myself. I'm filling up an empty gap emotionally with food and alcohol. And then even though I can't fit into my jeans and I can't fit into my skirt, I still think, oh, sod it, I've had a bad day, I'm an emotional eater. Other people get very thin when they're stressed. Other people become marathon runners and they run miles and miles and miles. Everybody's got a different way of coping with what's going wrong in their life. Mine is to eat and drink. So anyway, fearful that I was becoming an alcoholic, which my brother is, I went for help, cut back on the alcohol, not from a point of view of alcohol's bad for me, but it's full of calories, it makes you fat, and sugars and blah, blah, blah. So Donna suggested to my subconscious that now that I was in a happier place, personally had sorted out some issues in my life, she said, Michelle, to my subconscious, you don't need to fill yourself up with alcohol and food. You know what's good for you, you know what's bad for you. I was an athlete, I studied nutrition. I know what's good. I could tell you the calories of a Mars bar probably and all the rest. So she said, you don't need, to my subconscious. So, and she said, and also, as you lose weight, she said, your stomach will become smaller. So when you look at that big plate of fish and chips and you've been given far too much chips because they give you huge portions in some places, she says, you'll look at it and your stomach will feel a bit funny, like, ooh, it's too much, can't do it. A lot of very healthy people who, it's about portion control as much as the combination of foods. So they have an inbuilt resistance to what's going to make them fat. Like you, for instance, are very slim, athletically slim. Do you run or swim or? You're vegan as well, so you're not eating rubbish.
But there's a story behind it because when I was...
you were chubby, weren't you, when you were a kid?
Super. When I was 15, I think that was my peak. I was like 120 kgs. So I've been on a journey there, losing weight throughout my
I stopped myself at 99.7. I thought, I can't go over the 100. Wow. Oh, no. Because I know what it's like to bench press. I used to be able to bench press 75 kilos when I was at my peak. Lying on my back, push it straight up. So I was thinking, bloody hell, I'm heavy. And my ideal weight is around 80 kilos. So I should be able to bench press myself.
How many sessions did you need?
I had 4. I paid for 5. I got one up my sleeve as a top-up reinforcer. But what Donna also does is she records you an audio file. So you go, you have your first session. She talks to you about why do you think you overeat? What do you know? What's your knowledge level like of calories and food groups, complex carbs versus carby carbs, and So, and she gets inside your head as to why you're a comfort eater. Well, I'm very open and honest, and I know what my issues are. So I just went blah. And she said, "Oh, right, you're easy to fix." She said, "You have the knowledge already. If I had to teach you about calories and food groups and stuff like that, you would be harder to teach." Or harder to appeal to your subconscious. You'd have to kind of be slightly educated before I could talk to your subconscious. She says, right, relax, lie back. I'm going to do a hypnotherapy session on you now because I reckon I can get you going now, whereas normally you get going in your second session. So I'm lying there and she's talking away and I'm relaxing. And all of a sudden I kind of feel my head going like, down like that. I thought, I'm going under. This is interesting. But I didn't completely like into a deep sleep feel. But, that sounded like Yoda, didn't it? Into a deep sleep feel. But it was enough, And then I heard her saying, you'll feel that your stomach is much smaller. And they talk in a very relaxed sort of way. And I thought, yeah. And then with her knowledge of you and that session, she then records an audio file. So by the time you get home, your audio file is waiting for you and you play that when you go to sleep. So you go to sleep, you might look in the mirror and you might say, yep, you could lose a few pounds, babe, getting a bit fat, bit chubby, And then also you have to hang up something in the room that when last thing you see before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, you go and buy yourself a dress. I have a bathing suit hanging on my television rack at the moment. And it's from Marks and Spencer's in the UK. It's cream, and it's a one-piece, because I'm an old bird now. No more bikinis for me, I'm afraid. It's more elegant to be in a one-piece with underwire. So anyway, this beautiful bathing suit from the UK, and it's cream and it's ribbed, and it will look amazing with a tan, right? Because I am olive-skinned, Italian, Greek in my bloodline. So I bought it, and it's a size 16, which I'm comfortable in. At the moment, I'm probably an 18, British sizing. So anyway, it's hanging on a hanger by my telly. So like when I turn my telly off or on in the morning, if I'm watching the news or whatever, it's there. It's my positive. I am going to be in that. Another month, I'm going to be wearing that. I'm going to look fantastic. I'm going to have men following me down the beach saying, who's that babe? Oh, look at her, My perfect woman, if I could come back with the body of anybody, would be Ursula Andress walking out the sea in Dr. No, in the white bikini. See my teddy bear? Where's my teddy bear?
Where's the teddy bear?
Well, here. Oh, hang on. Don't recognise the shot.
Are you enjoying this, Georgie?
Very much so.
You're not getting a word in edgeways. I could sit here on my own. You two could go to the pub. So this is Ursula Bear, which her clothes, I think that they're in a packing box on the way from the UK. I've got her some black fishnet outfit, what's it called? They're like rude bears. Sorry. No, yeah. So you can get them. They're like rude bears, the little figurines. Anyway, she's got these this black underwear set coming. Anyway, my sister bought me the bear when I got divorced from my husband.
Hello, Lelly Belly.
So that's my sister's voice. Because that's my name. That's my family name is Lel. Because my brother couldn't say Michelle, but he could say the last Lel, Michelle, when he was little. So anyway, this is Ursula Bear. And when I first had her, she came in a pink Bally frou-frou thing, and I am not a pink Barbie girl. I'm a black and white girl, So anyway, my sister is pink frou-frou, but I'm not. So anyway, this bear arrived in pink frou-frou, and oh God almighty, bloody Barbie bear. What's a Barbie bear for? So anyway, and this is my sister's voice.
Hello, Lelly Belly.
Because I got divorced after 23 years to a Welshman. And I loved him. We were passionately in love, but sadly the marriage ended because we didn't have children. And anyway, so
did you drive it or him? Who took the leads to
what in the separation? Yeah, me. Because I felt that if I stood a chance of having a natural child with somebody else, I needed to make the break before I was past my sell-by date. And he just turned around and he says, I don't want kids. And I said, I've been hanging around you for 20 years, hoping to have your baby. I think a lot of women, they might go out with a lot of guys. A colleague of mine was like this. I want to be like you, Michelle. I don't want children. I'm going to be a career woman. And I said, hey, I so wanted kids. I so wanted kids when I was your age. I said, and she said, no, I don't. I'm going to be like you. I'm going to drive around in a Jaguar. I'm going to have nice jewellery and clothes. And I said, Kerry, they're compensation for not having kids. I've got the disposable income and I treat myself. But I tell you what, I'd swap places with that girl over there who's got those beautiful kids because, kids are for life,
But do you think that the other way around would also happen? The ladies who have children, they look at you and they say,
absolutely, yeah, because you don't, unless you've walked a mile in somebody's shoes, you don't know, do you? And I sometimes feel very sorry for mums when their kids are screaming and yelling. I did it today. I was in the Coro Club Cafe over at the airport and I did a bit of volunteering and helping out over there a while ago. Anyway, there was this new mum and she had a newborn and it was tiny. And I said, oh my God, she's a premature baby. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I knew about babies and mother care. I used to work for mother care. Anyway, I said, oh, can I hold the baby? She said, yeah, of course you can. She's running around after the other two rugrats that she had and she's frazzled. So I said, do you mind if I hold your baby? Anyway, I'd seen this video of this technique where you put a newborn baby to sleep, you wrap its hands across its chest like that, hold its little bottom and you do this with it. And it goes to sleep. Fat, wonk. Even if it's hungry or cranky, because that mimics how it feels in the womb.
And
then the baby went off and she said, how did you do that? I said, I watched it on a YouTube video. And she says, how does it work? I said, well, that's like in your belly and, but you do it very slowly and then you change the direction. So Ursula Bear, dummying up as a newborn baby.
You are really passionate about children and
young
kids.
Well, that's why I loved Lego, because they actually sent you off on a child psychology adventure where you learn how and why children play, what they learn, how they learn that little boys develop in a different way to little girls. Little girls are social, interactive. They don't want to play alone. They want to play with little friends, come around and collect things. And,
Because I got to the Gumboot thing earlier on Friday, and you had this little girl with you, and it looked like your little assistant. You were both just wander along.
I think she was the daughter of one of the Harcourts girls.
Okay.
And the Harcourts girls are super busy, flat out. They're very busy. And she dashed off, picked up her daughter from school. And I could see, she was like, oh, I really want to do this. But my daughter's, Mummy, what are you doing? And I says, hey, I'm Auntie Michelle. I've just started to work here. Would you like to help me? Yeah, please. And then she had a half-eaten ice cream in one hand, and I just gave her something like, carry that, follow me. And I thought, sorry, lolly billy. You engage with kids. I mean, I engage with kids easy peasy, do it in my sleep. Come help me. I really need your help. I used to do it with my nieces, do it with my nephews now. I used to take them to work with me on a Saturday and I had them fill in shelves, doing checklists for me, everything. Reward at the end of it. If you do a good job, you can have a little bag of Haribo's and maybe a McDonald's because that's what they like. I'm thinking, blech. Anyway, no, not with Haribo's. Like Haribo's.
It seems like you kind of treat children as a whole person, not as a
They're little adults.
Yeah.
They've got their fears, they've got their motivations, they've got their joys. I especially like really shy ones because I like to try and bring them out. I like to say, so you're feeling a bit scared. Like at the Aero Club, when I was a member of the Aero Club, I'm not now, but when I was, and I was helping out at the Coro Club Cafe, they'd be really disappointed if it was a windy, wet, horrible day and there was no aeroplanes refueling and thinging. And then this is how I got into this newborn baby today. She had two brothers older than her, and the mum wanted to breastfeed the little baby. So I thought, right, I'll engage and look after these two little boys. So I said to them, I'll go and have a look of the aeroplanes in the hangar, and if it is, I'll ask for permission and we can go and look at a plane. How about that? Would you like that? The other one was yes and one was no. So the mum said, well, I don't care. I just have to feed this thing. You do what you like, So anyway, I had a peek and there was no aeroplane. It's obviously out on a flying lesson, or one of the Aero Club members has hired it to use to get somewhere, which is what they do. So I think, what can I do? No. Anyway, they were entranced with Sexy Rexy was on the mower, the big John Deere tractor mowing them up and down. And they were like, oh, wow, it's a John Deere. It's green. It's great. It's a big lawnmower tractor. And then they said, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll go into the barrier air office and we'll weigh you like you're a suitcase. How about that? Oh, yeah. And I don't know where these ideas come from, but they pop into my head spontaneously. So anyway, went into the barrier air office and the barrier air lady's going, Michelle, I'm busy. What are you doing bringing kids in here? Like, I'm trying to answer the phone. So I said to them, like, shh, sit over there, be very quiet. She's busy. They sat over there quiet on the sofa. And then I found this beautiful, like a bronze or brass aeroplane. The propeller went round, so they played with that for a little while. I said, don't touch, don't break it, because it could have been worth a lot of money. I didn't know. So anyway, but it was in the waiting room for Barrier Air. So, and anyway, she finished on her phone calls and she said, oh, what can I help you with, Michelle? And she knows me because she was the lady that was there when we were drinking Prosecco before we got on the plane. God, we were a bit drunk, weren't we? Anyway,
she encouraged us though, actually.
She did, yeah. Have another one, girls. You can't take it on the plane. It's a glass bottle. And we were drinking Prosecco out of these mini bottles with straws.
Great. With straws.
Yeah, don't let your children go on holiday with me. I could be a bad role model. Anyway.
Those drops of rum, to make them sleep.
No, I don't drink.
No.
Do you know what? I drink wine and I don't really like cider. It's a bit sweet. I drink a gin and tonic. I drink wine. I don't drink beer. And I don't drink whiskey, brandy, nothing. That's it. Rose, any kind of wine I love, particularly red wine with food and steak from Chile. Argentinian beef. Wagyu beef. Ooh, I'm no vegetarian, me. Anyway, red meat. Anyway, so I said to her, I said, is it all right if I weigh them? I said, because they're going to pretend to be suitcases. And she said, and I said, so there's no aeroplanes at the moment, and the Barrier Air flight wasn't coming in until about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Cafe shuts about, I think the kitchen closes, well, they wouldn't be there. So she said, that's a really fun idea. Anyway, I turned the scales on and this one jumped on. So we got a piece of paper and we wrote his name on it and we wrote how much he weighed in kilos. I said, how much do you think you weigh? And one of them knew exactly what he weighed and the other one didn't have a clue, but they're different ages. So and we put Barrier Air stamp on it, and they went back to, whoa, look, I weigh 35 kilos. And then the other one said, oh, I weigh this. And I said, I weigh more than both of you added together. How about that? So it was just lovely, and it's kind of like it's like me nurturing my own maternal instincts. You know what I mean? It's like I can't be a mum now. I am definitely past my sell-by date. Menopause gone, but I can enjoy other people's children, and like because all the young children in my family are all in the UK and in Italy. I adopt other people's kids, I was like...
I'm a bit the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know Phil and Tracy Denise. They build beautiful houses and they roll them on, and I'm friends with them. I haven't seen them for a while since I've been back from the UK, but I have touched base with Tracy. They have a beautiful granddaughter called Lexi or Alexis. Well, Alexis and Neve, who's the daughter of the people at Stoked, when they were together one summer, we formed a cycling club, the three of us. I would take them off bike riding. And what were we? That was Neve, Alexi, and Michelle. What was it? What's N, M, Neve, N, L, M. And anyway, we had this mnemonic going on. We had a name for ourselves. And if you spelt it forwards or backwards, it was... Oh, anyway. We had a great time, and I used to take them cycling picnics and everything. And they were running me ragged, They were both very feisty, confident young women. Don't knock that out of them. They'll need every ounce of that as they get on in life. Anyway, I wanted to go to Guy Fawkes fireworks display or something, the other night. And so I rang Trace up and said, can Lexi come out to play? I want somebody to play with. And then a couple of years ago, Tracy had bought tickets for the circus on the beach, and Lexi's dad got busy with something and he couldn't pick up Popper and Lexi to go to the circus. So Tracy rang me because she was on Barrier Island, or she'd gone away on a boat with her husband. Good for them. And she said, oh, you couldn't help me out, could you? I said, you're joking, aren't you? I'd pay you. I would pay you to let me take Popper, old Barry, and Lexi to... you're doing me a favour. I said, God, I've driven past the circus tent like 3 or 4 times this week thinking, I haven't got anybody to take to the circus. What am I going to do? So it's like my inner child. I'm so connected to my inner child, which is why I love all this,
It feels to me, Michelle, that we as humans, especially when we were like in tribes, there was more of a sense of like the child belongs.
Child was brought up by the tribe.
There was some of them didn't even have a word for father. I was reading a book about indigenous people, and they say that like there was a sense of the mother, but there's a collective and busy life and the rat race, the thing with money. you know, like being a priority. It feels like there's a lack of caring for all the people's.
I think we've forgotten a lot of the old ways of doing stuff. It's like, you know, before we had cars, before we had electricity and the wheel, even, you know, when we were living in caves and washing off the rocks, you know, the women were like a collective, and they brought the children up between them, or the grandmother would suckle the baby. She didn't have any milk in her breasts, but she still was able to suckle the baby and like a dummy, or make the baby content, because the younger woman had to be digging up the fields, looking for the berries, picking the nuts. The guys would all go off and hunt the meat and bring back, you know, drag back a dinosaur or drag back a wildebeest or whatever, you know. There's a wonderful book, I think it's called The Naked Ape, by the guy that did an awful lot about body language and evolved humans. Desmond Morris, The Naked Ape, I think it is, and I read that book many years ago. Anyway, he basically said that, you know, without working together as a team back in the day, the human race didn't survive. Because while the men were off hunting, shooting and fishing, it's very New Zealanders, isn't it? While the men were off hunting, shooting and fishing and bringing back the meat, meat, fire, you know, the women had to keep an eye on each other. They were like a little herd of rabbits or horses, because they were vulnerable without the big strong men with the spears and the to look after them. You know, okay, there are women tribes where the women are just equally as capable as the men. The
Amazon.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Anyway, shot putter, Welsh women's under 21 shot put champion. Ooh. I've got my badge here. Where is it? My prop. So the women all worked collectively. So they'd all go down to the stream to do their washing together, to pick their water, bring it back up to the cave. They'd all stay in the cave and pile up things to block the cave entrances so the animals couldn't get in and all the rest. So they had to work together. So one woman would maybe breastfeed another woman's child. And you've heard the term wet nurse from the medieval days in the UK. That was a woman who had her own children but was a prolific provider of milk, so she could nurse two children. So she might nurse the baby for the Lord of the Manor's sickly wife, and they were called wet nurses, and basically they were like nannies that could also breastfeed, because that was before formula milk and everything. So, I mean, I love that.
And it's interesting because a lot of the things that you do, managing teams, it for me kind of goes back to that sense of the collective. Yeah. Because it flows better. And I always think when people say, oh, but like, you guys keep talking about how it used to be, so why don't you go and live in the bush? And I'm like, well, but it's just a perspective, because nowadays we have everything, we have mental health issues. I don't know if cave people would have the same.
No, well, probably less so, because there was no technology. There was a lot less stress. The stress back then was life or death, not shit, I haven't got the latest iPhone. You know, or oh my God, you know, I've got to earn this much to pay the mortgage, to pay the credit card. Different stresses.
The stresses are almost instantaneous.
And there's so much, they come from many different angles now.
Yeah.
Whereas when life was simpler, it was, I am hungry, I need to find some food. I'm thirsty, I need to find some water. I don't want to be dehydrated because I've got to run across the desert today. You know, and it was more simplistic, but equally so, it was life and death decisions. Whereas now, I think people get far too wound up and involved in, I haven't got the latest car, therefore I'm a failure. I mean, I can remember going down to an aviation thing. We went down to near Gisborne. I can't remember the name of the place. Anyway, we went as a Tiger Moth Club of New Zealand, and we knew that the guy that organised it was Mahanga Maru, who is Maori, but worked for Air New Zealand, and I think he's consulted for the New Zealand government. Anyway, he and I were talking, and I was so into these kids, and I'll bring aeroplane lollies and T-shirts and hats for them, and his idea was bring in positive role models and try and influence them to try and aspire to be something beyond their term of reference. So, you know, be a pilot, absolutely, but you'll need to be good at maths, you'll need to turn up at school, you need to be smart and well-dressed, and you know, because you need a sexy voice, you know, ladies and gentlemen, the aeroplane will be leaving in 20 minutes, please strap it in, you know, so you can't. So
did they offer like an ongoing support thing, or was it just...
Mahanga has arranged it, yeah, because when we went back a second time, there was a beautiful lady there. She looked like Val Adams, and she was a lady pilot for Air New Zealand. She had a beautiful necktie on, and she's really smart, and a very smart lady, you know. And so she was walking around, and you could see some of these girls, you know, that I'm not being prejudiced in any way, but might want to have a baby at 16 so they get more benefit, or, and she was talking to them, and she was from them, So I believe in being positive role models, bringing in people that inspire. And I can remember going there the first time, and I have purple Under Armour trainers, and I have an iPhone. And I was standing talking to these kids, and my phone rang, and I pulled it out of the back pocket of my shorts, because I'm a bit of a tomboy, so shorts, trainers, T-shirt, off we go, sit in an aeroplane, fly. I actually like to tie them down and put the blanket on them. I don't like sitting in a hanger, filing my nails, pretending I'm, a Barbie girl or a hair stylist. I prefer to be a groundie. And I had mostly boys around me, because I was the one with the lollies, and I was handing out the aeroplane jellies and baseball caps. They were like magnets around me, And one of them was like, like your trainers. They'd have that funny laugh, and I love it. I said, go and laugh for me again. And I said, go and laugh again. Go on. I said, no, you grew up then. So anyway, I really like your trainers. So I said, they're Under Armour. Where'd you get them? America. You've been to America? I said, yeah. Went to a huge big air show, Oshkosh. And then they had a big discount mall opposite. So all the ladies would go over there, and we'd take 2 suitcases, an empty one and a full one. So we'd come back with all these bargains from this designer outlet place. So I came back like 4 pairs of trainers, because I live in trainers. So I had beautiful purple Under Armour trainers that I wore on the Tiger Moth thing, with a purple T-shirt and blue shorts. I've got to be coordinated. Not coordinated. So anyway, and then my phone rang, so I pulled my phone out, and it's a new iPhone 11 or whatever it was. It was a few years ago. I think it was 2017, something like that. Oh man, an iPhone. Oh my God, it nearly blew their mind. And I'm thinking, I don't even know how this bloody thing works. I can do a few, I'm techie, So they're like, oh, does it do this and does it do that? And can you do this and can you do that? I said, I don't know. Do you want to have a play? Well, I thought, well, please don't run off with my phone. But he's like, so I let them have a play, and they were showing me all sorts of, do you know how to do this, miss? Do you know how to do this, miss? Miss, show me, miss. And I said, oh, thanks ever so much. I said, my God, you've taught me lots. I didn't know it did that. And I was saying to them, why don't you think about working in IT? I said, you've got an aptitude for it. What's IT? I said, information technology. Oh, we don't do that at our school. I said, well, why don't you go and get a job for Spark or something in a shop and show people how to use their phones? I said, because you're a very good teacher. I said, you taught me stuff. You didn't make me feel stupid. You didn't make me feel old. I said, you're a better teacher than some of the teachers I had when I was your age who told me I was stupid. No, miss, they're not allowed to tell you you're stupid. I said, they're not allowed to tell you you're stupid now. I said, but they did back in my day. And they were like, how old are you, miss? And I said, oh, I don't know, I was 58 then or something, whatever. And they said, oh, miss, don't look your age, miss. I said, thanks. And just engage with them,
Michelle, tell me a little bit more about the relationship with your mom, because you mentioned that narcissistic vibe, and it's something that we come across quite often,
Well, she was a career woman. She was a nurse. She, according to my grandmother, who I spent a long time talking to my grandmother, my mother's mother, about my mum and my difficulties engaging with her and trusting her, because I found out how many lies she was telling all the time and trying to manipulate a situation all the time. So I used to go to my granny and I say, oh God, she said this, really, And my granny used to say, she doesn't mean any harm, she doesn't know what she's doing. I said, how does she not know the lie from the truth and whatever? And my granny says, I don't know. She said, but I do know she's got a kind heart and she doesn't mean anything by it. So anyway, this last trip back to the UK in July, my mother is now 86, 87. Thank God she can't hear this, because she'd be on a bloody warpath if she heard this. Because she's never wrong. Typical narcissist. Can't admit when she's wrong, can't apologise. Always fantasises that things are better than they truly are. And, it's like my mother wasn't just a nurse, she was Florence Nightingale, She wasn't just a good mother, she was the best mother ever, and she liked a lot of attention. My first husband used to call her Joni, as in Joan Collins, and he used to say to her, oh, Joni, looking really nice today, aren't you? Or if she knew we were coming to visit, she'd put makeup on and jewellery and be ready. Because she had very dark brown curly hair and nicely made up, a bit like Joan Collins, with the shoulder pads and everything back in the day. So he used to flirt with her, and that would be good. And my dad's best friend, who had a pub, my Uncle Ken, on a Sunday afternoon to get my mother to relax and be less narcissistic, he used to make her drink a couple of big sherries because she had a load of ironing to do. And she'd be like this with my dad, like, come on, we need to go home. I've got a big pile of ironing. Come on, stop drinking. Let's get home. Got to get the kids, and trying to get my dad away from the alcohol. And it was controlling, and controlling is a huge big part of narcissistic personality disorder. So anyway, so Uncle Ken used to give my mother a load of sherry, and then she'd relax, and she'd the ironing, no problem. Who cares if there's creases in the sheets? And my dad was a soldier, and he had to have everything creased and everything. And my dad would be sitting in the chair like going, oh, Jesus, Mum's pissed and the ironing's going to be everywhere. So a big awareness of alcohol and mental health, and my mum being very dysfunctional. And my mother went through several years when my dad was stationed in Northern Ireland where she'd actively criticise him to me. And she'd say to me, don't ever marry a man more stupid than you. Don't ever marry a man that can't keep you. Because one of her sisters had married a guy that worked for BP Oil and had a very, very good job. So my Auntie Iris became like Hyacinth the bouquet. You know, she had all matching crystal and beautiful linen tablecloths and rose above her upbringing. She married well. But my Auntie Iris was very professional. She had to entertain. She had to have dinner parties because he was in sales and marketing, so he was always entertaining and everything. And they had 4 kids quite quickly. And, I don't, a mother and a housewife is a tough job, and I think if you can afford to be full-time doing it, then why not? Why put yourself under the pressure financially? Enjoy your children when they're little. Enjoy your home and be a homemaker and rear your children. But sometimes people don't have the choice and have to go to work, so look for great care. And also maybe the care should be coming from within the family like it used to do back in the day, where your grandparents looked after you when you went to work, or your auntie or your next door neighbour or whoever. And I actually love the concept, and I know quite a few now, stay-at-home dads. Why not? And I also remember during COVID riding my bike along the beach, and there was this beautiful little baby toddling, walking, first steps, and a mum and a dad and a dog. And I cycled round in my bike and I said, oh, hi. I said, you're like the perfect family unit, beautiful baby, beautiful young couple, nice pram, nice dog. I said, oh God, I said, you could be like an advert for cornflakes or nappies or something. I said, you've made me smile. I said, I've been riding my bike thinking this COVID lark is shit. I can't get home. My dad's got dementia. My mum's a bitch and bullying him and blah. And I have got a dementia thing here somewhere. So anyway, I just said how lovely I thought it was, and they said, "Oh, thank you," And I said to them both, I said, "So which one of you is like the breadwinner? Which one of you goes out to work all the time?" And she said it was her actually. So I said to him, "Are you the stay-at-home dad then?" He says, "Well, I go out at the weekends and I labour and I do a bit of trading and I help in the evenings here, there, and everywhere." And I said, "Good for you." I said, "What a team, And I said, "And how wonderful is it that you were both here today to see what was maybe your baby's first steps." And you saw that, whereas normally you might have been at work and missed it. And I know because my sister was like a single mum. Her husband left her for another woman when the baby was about less than 1, actually. And so I became like the secondary carer and used to pick her up from school and do stuff with her. So we're quite close. She's my goddaughter and my niece. And my sister missed first word, first step, first poo in the potty. I had that pleasure. And she said, you miss these things. And now with phones and mobile phones and technology, even if you're on the other side of the world, you can share those things because technology's taken over. But yeah, so this last trip back, my mum really revealed herself. Obviously, she's under a lot of stress and strain. She doesn't like me and I don't like her, but we are mother and daughter, so there is a love and a bond there. But I lost a whole lot of respect for her because of her bad behaviour. And that's never kind of healed.
How is it to accept that you don't like mama doesn't like you, and it's okay?
It's the only way you can cope with a narcissistic personality or somebody with very strong narcissistic characteristics is you have to protect yourself from them, because they are so deluded by this condition that they have that they don't realise how damaging they are to you. I mean, one of the horrible things my mum did, we laugh about it now, or I've learnt to laugh about it. Georgie knows a story about adopting the Romanian orphans. Did we laugh when I told you that, eh? I couldn't have my husband's biological children because he had a hereditary disease. At the time, the Ceausescu regime in wherever Romania. They were dumping disabled and damaged children. So if they were damaged at birth or whatever, or the parents just died, they were just being dumped in these inappropriate, ill-equipped care homes for children, and they were left in their cots and they rocked out of loneliness, and they were never cuddled and they were never coochie-cooched. So these children were becoming mentally disabled because they didn't have a mother and a father. They had a nurse that maybe had 20 of them to feed, change, scream, yell, cry. And quite a few of them would take their feces out and spread it on the wall next to the cot. And anyway, this, I think it were American people, made this documentary, and it was shown raw how badly damaged and how sad it was for these children. And there was this huge, big global campaign to adopt them, to bring them home. Nobody knew who these children were, didn't know their names, didn't know their parents. They'd been left on doorsteps in trash bins, and it was really a big do at the time. So my mum said to me, "Are you going to adopt a Romanian?" I said, "No, Mum, no. I want my own baby first. And then if I can have my own baby, then yeah, I would. Absolutely, I would. It's in my soul. I would do something like that." But I says, at the moment, I'm a career woman. I'm doing really, really well in my career. And if I carry on like this, I could probably retire early and adopt 2 Romanians and give them a lovely home and give them... I said, children like that need a full-time mum or a full-time dad or a team, because they're damaged and they need to be repaired. And that takes a lot more effort than dealing with a normal child, although they are a challenge as well. So I said, "No, Mum, not this time, no, but nice thought, thanks very much." Anyway, I was in town, and some of my mother's friends were out for a gin and tonic or a bottle of Prosecco, on a Friday lunchtime. "Oh, hi, Michelle, across the road. Oh, hello, ladies, how are you? Oh, how are you doing? Have you been promoted? Like, how many men are we working for you now?" I said, 17. "Well, you've got a team of 17 men?" "Yeah, great." And I said, I said, "Well, actually, it's 15 men and 15, 16, 17, 2 women." And, so I said, "The girls are coming through now because I'm the figurehead, I'm the role model. So if I can make it to district manager, they can make it to manager, blah, 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 blah." So I said, "That's working." And that was my brief. That's why I was promoted to that role, to be a figurehead and a role model. So they said, "Oh, your mum has said that we shouldn't say anything to you." Red flag straight away. Why wouldn't she want to be accredited with something? So that's your first red flag, is some excuse or preamble to the lie that's coming. "We saw your mum the other day and she said if we saw you, we shouldn't say anything to you because it's very personal and maybe embarrassing to you." I said, "What on earth has she said now?" "You're going to adopt a Romanian. Oh, we think you're so brave. And you can afford a nanny, can't you? And blah, 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 blah." I said, "Oh, Christ, Jesus." I said, now these are ladies that know me quite well because they're lifelong colleagues of my mum. They're all nurses and stuff. And I said, "Oh, Jesus." I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do with her. I really don't know what I'm going to do with her." I said, "That's a lie." And 2 of them looked at each other, straight away, and then tried to cover up the fact that they hadn't looked at each other. And I thought, they know. And that's a narcissistic behaviour as well, is the fantasy and telling a lie that you hope will come true and pretending something's better or worse or more drama and get attention. It's attention-seeking behaviour. So I said, "Look, my mum and I have discussed it. That's true. I told her that I wouldn't in a million years adopt a Romanian as a firstborn, but I might take it on as a second, because a child like that needs a normal sibling. That will help. I need to know what it's like to be a parent to my own and to normalise things, and then I'll take on something difficult." I said, "But Jesus," I said, "she's told you I'm adopting." "Yeah, apparently it's twins and one's..." And there was detail in there as well, like an embellished lie, real detail to make it more convincing to them, you see. Anyway, 2 of them looked at each other and I said, "And you two, what's going on?" Because I was in the police, I was an investigator. Desmond Morris, the naked ape. I love body language, man. That speaks more than some words sometime. You can watch people, how they look at each other and what they say and how they say it. And there's an investigatory technique that's around the syntax of speech. If somebody says something like, Georgie might have a little saying like, "Hello, girl, how are you?" Right? Or whatever. So and if they said, "Oh, we saw George in town," and she said that, "Oh, hello, how are you?" Well, I know that's not George. They're telling a lie because George doesn't speak like that. George speaks the way George speaks. I speak the way I speak. And that's revealing. That's a reveal, So when somebody's lying if they get that wrong, or that somebody's using somebody else's words in the lie. That's what they said. That's not what you think. And what you're saying is saying somebody else's words. Very interesting. It takes that criminal psychology. You've got a degree in criminal psychology. You know all that, don't you?
Well,
yeah, you do. Of course you do. Am I lying now? Am I telling the truth? Anyway, so up left and up right are sort of the imagination and the truth. I can't remember what it is now. I haven't investigated anybody in a while. Anyway, where was I?
You should write a book.
I want to write 2 books, actually. I want to write... top and bottom of it, these 2 ladies, the 2 nurses, right, said that my mother lied a lot. And I said, yeah, I know, and it's very hurtful, and I am going to go and take her to the cleaners for this one. I said, because this has gone too far now. So I went and had a serious talk with my mother and my husband, and my dad went down the pub while I did it. And I said, why do you lie, Mum? Why do you do it? What? You told Sheila, Betty, Sue and Rachel that I was going to adopt Romanians. No, I told them that we talked about it. I said, no, you told them that I was going to do it, and they were twins, and one was a boy and one was a girl. Blah, blah, blah. I said, come on, Mum, please. This is ridiculous. I says, you're undermining yourself, you're undermining me. I gave her the whole 9 yards, and a proper telling off with detail. And I said to her, the consequences of this, mother, is if you carry on like this, I'm not going to tell you anything about my life, and I'm going to hardly be able to speak to you, because actually you make me feel sick. Because she'd lied to me as a child, she's carrying on lying about me as an adult, and that freaks me out. If somebody tells a lie and tells an untruth, that makes me ferociously defensive of myself and of the people that are involved in the lie and the untruth. So I don't lie, I tell the truth. I'm very, very straight to the point of view that, if you can't take the truth from me, I'm very sorry. I'll try and gild the lily a little bit, but if you're in denial and you're pretending you can't see that that's litter and it needs picking up, or you leave the kitchen in a mess or whatever, and you say, oh, I can't see it. Excuse me. Yes, you can. Of course you can. How can you not see that? A narcissist will say, well, I can't see it. Oh, no, I haven't made a mistake. I'm perfect. Oh, no. So anyway, so my mum's like that. I told her off. And anyway, when I went back this summer, because she's at even more, more old now, and she's looking after my dad, I was putting cream on my dad's head because he'd had some cancerous lumps taken off the top of his head, and they got a bit infected because he didn't remember what had happened, so he was scratching. So I said to my mum, because I'm a trained foot health practitioner which deals with skin conditions and conditions of the nail, so you can do hands and feet. So I said to my mum, have you not got any topical antiseptic cream or something to put on Dad's head? She said, no. I said, Mum, you're a retired nurse, surely. I said, I know where the first aid box is. It's in the kitchen above the kettle in the cupboard. You mean you haven't got any antiseptic cream, like a Sting or a Bite? I love Germaline, which is a British brand. It's a lovely cream, and I use it when I did foot care. No, I haven't. I said, all right then. I keep it in my handbag because if I get a blemish or a spot, I rub Germaline on it straight away to stop me getting a big pimple. And it calms them down. You can put it on insect bites and everything. God bless Germaline. And anyway, so I said, well, I've got some in the car because I still use it on my spots because I have very oily skin. So I went and got it. And anyway, so I'm rubbing it very... She said, don't put it on the stitches. You know not to put it on the stitches because it'll slacken the stitches and makes the skin soft and the stitches... I said, yeah, Mum, I know. And then anyway, so I'm doing it. And so obviously I'm in an intimate situation with my dad. My dad's sitting there lapping it up like a cat, oh, yeah, my girl's home from New Zealand, my daughter number 1 I am. Daughter number 1, prodigal son, and daughter number 2, that's the 3 of us, right? So I'm rubbing it on. And anyway, she jumps out of her chair, really angry and really violent now. And she stamps her foot and she goes, I am not neglecting your father. And I thought, well, you are, because she's just revealed it. She thinks that's what I think, and she felt guilty about it. So she jumped up in defence of herself and said, I am not. And I've seen tantrums like that in other narcissists, and that's quite a tell as well, It's a bit like the lady, she doth protest too much in Shakespeare. If I make a fuss now and deny... Ooh, hello, you're right. Oh, it's a dog. Hello, come on.
You didn't see the dog. You
haven't
seen him.
Oh, hello. Come on. Wiggle. It's his tail wagging on the desk, folks. If you can hear a banging in the... Here he comes. Hello. That Irish comic at the Monkey House the other night had a great big...
Ellen.
The Irish guy. Sharpei Mastiff Cross. It was gorgeous.
Ellen McElroy.
Yeah, big slobbery dog walking all this... That dog loves that man.
I keep staring at the box that says "for fuck's sake" on it.
The fuck's sake.
Oh, gold coin.
Michelle, can you tell us, because we're coming to the end of the show, but you didn't touch the Gumboot Friday yet. I was wondering when we would get there.
Well, I was tasked by Dale to organise it for Harcourts. Hello, doggy. To organise it for Harcourts. I found out about it on the Monday. The thing was 3:30 on the Friday, and I bust a gut and we did it, and we raised $2,500. We've decided to keep the raffle open for at least until maybe the end of Saturday. So if you can come into Harcourt's sales office and buy a raffle ticket, if you haven't already, we've got amazing prizes, which I've left rolled up in my gumboots, which I've left in my house because I was in a rush to get here. The star prize, which was donated by Graham and Sheena. Sheena works with the children in the gym. She teaches them martial arts and stuff. Graham is just one of the nicest people I've ever met. Genuinely super, super nice guy. I got let down with a super yacht company who promised me that they would let me use a super yacht to sell a tiki tour in a super yacht. Oh, he's got my teddy. It's okay. That's okay. He can have my dog. I love dogs. He can have my dog.
He really likes that one.
Oh, let him have it. Because my husband wouldn't let me have a dog. Somebody bought me. I had a beagle when I was little called Whiskey. So this is my beagle. Here, give him. He can have it.
So we can still buy the raffles for the Gumboot.
You can still buy the raffle tickets at Harcourt sales office. We just want a gold coin donation for one ticket. So that's one ticket, $1. You could win a trip around the waterways on Graham and Sheena's beautiful boats. It's not a sailing yacht, it's a motorboat. So I don't know quite what to call them because I'm not into, well, I am into boats, yeah, absolutely. Below decks, man. I want a holiday like that one of those days. So I've offered to do the champagne and strawberries dipped in chocolate. He said 4 to 6 people, so you could have a family, you could have a guy that might want to propose or, romantic little cruise round. So we will bespoke it with Graham and Sheena, depending on who wins the prize. But basically, little tour around the waterways, look at all the beautiful houses, all the beautiful landscaping. It's a bit like... And Sheena and Graham were super, super understanding of this. We had a helicopter ride donated by Lee and Linda Hopper. We auctioned that to the highest bidder, and a lovely couple who are going to take, I think, a relative of theirs that's got a cancer issue. They're going to go, the 4 of them are going to go. So that was for 4 people, because depending on your weight and the wind direction and the weather, helicopters have to be very carefully balanced. So that was that, and it was auctioned. And Lee will be the pilot, and he's super, super talented man. He loves... I saw his interview with you, and he was talking about being able to fly in 3 dimension, up, forward, sideways. And it's like, wow. And I've been in a tiny little Robbie helicopter at Oshkosh, like, Mr. Hopper, me, can I come? So anyway, Lee and Linda were very generous. I organised it through Linda because Lee was out the country busy. So thank you, Linda. And then, so Sheena and Graham have given this boat trip because the super yacht people that were trying to sell those legacy extreme boats the other day in the canal, and it was peeing down with rain on the Sunday, so I thought I'll go over for a glass of champagne because I live opposite them. So I'll go over and I'll schmooze them and see if I can blag something for the raffle. So they said to my face, they said, yeah, absolutely, we love you, you've interacted with our little girl, you've told us all about Lego and child psychology. Because the girl on the yacht that was one of the team was studying psychology, so her and I had a connection and we had a good old chat. Anyway, so I sent them the pack, the gumboot thing, and here's my gumboot. I sent them all the thing. And they came back and they said, oh no, we've used all our budget for charity this year, we can't give you anything. So I'd been blagging, you see. Whoa, got a super yacht as a gift. You're going to raffle it, And Sheena and Graham agreed with me that we had one beautiful star prize auctioned. They agreed with me that they would raffle the yacht, the boat trip, because I wanted somebody who might not necessarily be able to afford to buy that experience to hopefully win it.
Yeah.
Now, the people that bid on the helicopter flight, it's a stretch, but probably they could have afforded to do it for a wedding anniversary, 60th anniversary, or a 21st birthday as a big, big gift for somebody, maybe at a stretch. But for them to get it at an affordable price and for that money to be going to charity, because they're a beautiful couple, they're a lovely couple. I might not mention them by name, but they know who they are. Love you. Dave, you smell fantastic today. Anyway, he wears aftershave, and I love a man that's groomed with aftershave. It's like, it's kind of, is it pheromones? Pheromones, yeah. So anyway, so I'm hoping, so go and buy some tickets, please, for that boat trip. I'm hoping something really
the best
yummy.
way to get the tickets? Where do we go?
Harcourts sales office on the main Albert Street, and then on Thursday night, in my gumboots, I am going to be... You can come with me, George, because you've got the gift of the gab too. Not mine, not Ursula Bear. No.
Go there with Taylor. Go.
Yeah.
Go see.
So, yeah. So if anybody would like to join me, I'm going to walk the streets like I used to do when I was a policewoman. I'm going to walk the streets at night with my raffle tickets on Thursday. And I'm going to go to the fishing club when they've all had a few beers, and I'm going to sell them raffle tickets. And I'll go to other places, Salt. I'm going to ask the owners of these establishments if I can go, or I'll just ask them on the night and just be very cheeky. I'm very cheeky, but in a good cause.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm going to go and say, look, can I just have 20 minutes, half an hour, quick whiz around your bar, quick whiz around your tables, or you can announce it if you've got a tannoy. So say if I went to Smithy's, they go, Michelle's here, she wants to sell some raffle tickets, come on, get your hands in your pockets, boys. And I tell you what, this was really meaningful because I have been on CFM all week, last week, giving updates. This is what I've raised, this is what I've got, come on, come and have a gumboot race, come and chuck a welly, which is the British word for a gumboot, on Friday in the park, just have some fun, you know. And anyway, I went up to the Foursquare up by Buffalo Beach. I just needed to get out of the office, clear my head, have a little walk, because it's been quite stressful for me. But I must say, I've handled it really well. I'm proud of myself. And you need to learn how to pat your own back and pat your own head when you've got mental health challenges. I haven't had a dip. My complex PTSD has not surfaced because I'm feeling valued and I'm back in my game. And, you know, so what was making me very depressed and giving me a very difficult journey is kind of almost fixed because I know my mother started it now and I've dealt with that when I was back home. She's in her box now. Told her, you know, don't damage me anymore, mother. Oh, have I damaged you? Yeah, you haven't. This is how you did it. Boom, 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 boom. Spoke to her logically and not too emotion, yes, but controlled emotion. I didn't lose my rag with her. I just said, look, this is how it's going to be now. You're not damaging me anymore. And then because she damaged me in my youth, then other narcissists that I've come across in life since, it all started to link together. And then there was a straw that broke the camel's back and I completely dipped. George will tell you, George came round to my house. You see this vibrant woman here, chatting away, verbal diarrhea, blah, 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 blah. On my game, you know, I once sold Lego Star Wars product. I sold £1 million in one order to Toys R Us UK. You know, I'm a kick-ass businesswoman and I'm very capable, but I had hit the skids. I couldn't get out of bed, could I? I wasn't eating, shopping, doing anything. And friends like George, even Nigel, bless him, coming round because you suggested with croissants, cream cheese and salmon. And he'd looked up dill. You know, what a nice guy. He's a kind man. Thank you, Nigel. Much appreciated. We're friends. And other people, you know, Mari, little Jeanette from the Waterways, all keeping an eye on me like, oh, her curtains haven't opened for ages. I haven't seen her out and about. We kind of missed that nutty woman going, hello, morning, you know, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I had this kind of like team around me that cared for me, you know. I mean, just over a year ago, I ended up in Thames Hospital because I took sleeping tablets that weren't mine and I didn't know the strength of them. And I gave myself an accidental overdose. I nearly died. You know, when something like that happens to you, you think, shit, I need to do something about this, sort myself out. So I've been on a mission for over a year to try and find out what it was that was causing these mood swings, these ups and downs, and I've nailed it. I've been diagnosed with something called complex PTSD. It is perfectly manageable and perfectly curable. It does not mean I'm mental or insane or unstable or unable to cope. You know, you can hear in my voice I'm very able to cope. You know, and the stress of organising the gumboot, working with people I'd never worked for before, working with people who are also under stress and strain, because these guys at Harcourts and most people who sell property are, you know, if they don't sell a house, they don't earn any money. And they've got mouths to feed and mortgages to pay. You know, so they're very driven, dedicated people doing their thing. And I'm walking in there going, I need this and I need that, and please help me because I don't know how the phones work and I haven't got a key to that office door, and help me. And they're all running off doing viewings and auctions, and, you know, so I just got stuck in. But do you know what? I like a challenge. I'm not complaining about it at all, but I might have trodden on a few toes. So I apologise. I turn the volume down now on my voice.
I think you're doing fantastic, Michelle. Thanks so much.
I love it. I do love it. Love it. Yeah.
And for being honest,
Georgie owes me $1, and you owe me $1 for my swear box.
We're gonna go get $1.
Mr. I like to make people say the word F during my show.
I love it. That was good. You should keep the box here because we're gonna raise a lot of money. I can tell this. Let's have some food.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
A pleasure. I adore this. I really adore it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, George.
Georgie, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Taylor. Thanks, Sushi. And for you guys watching us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. on YouTube, we're live. It's going to be a good week. Stay with us. Peace.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Love your children.